Well, I don't think they're going to have any trouble at all because they're two of the wittiest people in theater in town.
Bob and Katie.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Oh,
wonderfully
yes.
charming, funny,
Charming,
talented
witty
people.
And they're multi-talented. I mean, they're both writers. I don't see how they can miss, actually, if you like that kind of talented, charming, witty people.
If you watch a lot of Hollywood movies, you get an idea of life in the theater, with glamorous late-night soirees, champagne, and breakfast in bed, served by a faithful retainer. The truth is, life for regional actors and writers R. Hamilton Wright, Bob, and his wife, Katie Forgette, is pretty much like life for any middle-class couple. Forgette's new play, The O'Connor Sisters, about a family gathering to sort out its father's affairs, will open at Seattle Repertory Theater this spring. Bob Wright has wrapped up a run in Fifth Avenue Theater's production of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. When they're not rehearsing or writing, this couple likes to hang out on the couch in their living room. I've always assumed that you people have known each other, you two have known each other forever. So I don't actually know how you met. Was it in a play?
In a play, The Forest was the first time we met.
Right.
1986.
1986.
I was an understudy.
You were an understudy?
Yes.
And Bob was in it.
I was in the play at the Rep.
And then we were cast together years later in The Miser.
The Miser.
Wow. How many years later?
4 or 5, I think.
Now you were, Bob, part of the Rep company at the time?
Yep.
But you...
No.
You were not.
No, I was just chipped in occasionally.
She came, yeah.
Is this acting community small enough that you knew of each other's work, or how?
Yeah, well, that's certainly none of... I mean, I'd seen him on stage when I was in school.
Grade school, I think.
And when I was in preschool, I went to a show he was in. I thought, who is that elderly man? I think I'll marry him one day.
Yes.
No, I was in college, and he was in his 20s, and he was already working with Empty Space, so...
And so you'd seen him perform? And
Yeah.
Did you store that knowledge away?
I did, actually. When I first saw him, I stored that knowledge away.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you have been married for several years at this point, but you have been together for how long?
About
Depends on when you start counting.
10,
10,
11 years.
Not from the first play together?
No.
No.
10 or 11 years, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
Do I have a total false stereotype of actors that relationships come and go more often than we mortals? Well, because there's the stories that you hear about how, being in a cast together is very intense, and so that makes relationships between actors more intense than if you are the secretary and the secretary next to you is attractive.
Yeah.
And
Well, it can be. I mean, if you start at 10 in the morning and you start with the love scene, you get to know someone pretty well and very quickly.
Did you play a love scene together in The Miser?
We did.
Sort of a comic love scene.
It was a comic, and then it was cut, I think. It was on a divan.
That's right.
And Doug Hughes cut it and put us in the closet instead.
So nobody saw that.
So nobody did.
And that's
saw
when
it.
love happened, in that closet?
Yeah, that's right. Among other things. There was love in
There
the
was
closet.
also a giant handbrake
There was.
because the closet had to shake while we were in it.
We wanted suggestive movement in the closet. It was
I see.
freestanding, like a huge armoire.
Armoire.
And it actually had leaf springs, like a truck.
And did you have to move that handbrake?
We just kind of moved back and forth.
We
with
jumped
that.
up and down. And then when we
then-
wanted it to stop, Bob had the control of
Right.
this
The
giant
brake,
handbrake.
And the brake would stop it from moving.
Wow. Well, I guess that's a sound foundation for a relationship, isn't it?
I keep reaching for the handbrake.
How many plays have you been in together? Do you know? Do you count those things?
10 or 12, maybe? We did. There was one period, a number of years ago, where we were in, I think, 4 or 5 in a row.
Back to back at the Rep,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because we did The Miser, 6 characters, Dancing at Lunasa,
Right.
Scapan.
Right.
Dancing at Lunasa, you played like a 6-year-old, right?
I played one of those parts where
Right.
you're 6 years old and then you're 35 and
Then you're
then
dead.
you're 6 again and then you're dead.
I think you're dead, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was sort of my character's memory of his aunts.
Of his aunts, one of whom was...
And I was one of his, yes, Aunt
My
Aggie.
Aunt Aggie.
Now, was that still when the Rep had a set company of actors, or was that after that?
Sort of
time?
after that. The company really lasted about, really, for all intents and purposes, maybe 5 years. From about 86 to around 90, 91. And then as long as Dan was there, a number of people.
Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan. As long as he was there, because he's very loyal. He tried to find work for those of us who were still kind of hanging on with their, white fingers. But the company as a whole didn't really continue on past that.
It was probably good for you, Katie. That means that there was a toehold for people who weren't in that company.
That's true, although I worked when even they had a company. Barbara and Marianne were cast a lot, and
Barbara
Jeannie
Dearson
Carson.
and
Right.
Marianne Owen.
And then if there was something else, a bunch of us would come in and read, and occasionally I got it.
I would imagine that you don't learn all those lines just within the confines of the rehearsal time, though. I mean, you have to bring work home, don't you, when you're
Sometimes it depends on how big the line load is. Certainly when you were doing Fully Committed, he was learning lines before the rehearsal even began. But if you have actually within a week or 10 days, usually you can get off book just in rehearsal.
And then you don't have to take it home with you.
Not really, unless you're Dancing at Lunasa, I had to bring the dancing home and the knitting home, because I had to do...
You had to learn how to knit?
I had to learn how to knit.
Yeah.
Knit gloves.
With those little curly
With those
needles.
little... Yeah. And then the dancing.
So
And then
you
we
would
had
practice
dialect work.
dancing in the living room?
Yeah, until Bob asked me to stop.
Yeah. It was fun because all four of those women, who are all wonderful actors.
There's a beautiful dance.
And a beautiful dance. They all, I don't know, Marianne knitted.
Marianne was the only knitter, I think.
Marianne Owen, but I don't think Barbara or Kate knit, and Kate Perwin, who's the other sister. And listening to these people in the middle of run-throughs, you can hear them go, "Oh, damn, God,"
I think Frank is here.
Frank is here. Frank.
Our cat.
There's too many people.
There's too many
many
people.
people.
But people will hear that little plaintive
Yes, they will.
My parents are on the couch and I'm not there.
No
bring
one's
home.
touching me.
So you actually learn those lines in rehearsal. I always imagine that memorizing things, in fact, I know that to be a fact, is incredibly hard. So I just thought you would have to come home and either lock
sometimes-
yourself in different rooms and...
Sometimes you do. If it depends on the size of the part, I think.
If you have big monologues without a lot of input from your other cast members, then you have to sit down and just learn them by rote. Right. The great thing about dialogue, even if it's longer speeches, but if essentially there's your dialogue with other people, is that there's self-cueing, because it's really harder to learn them outside of rehearsal because you don't have the other person to essentially have the conversation with you.
Well, Fully Committed that you mentioned, I think that was, 21 characters or something?
Something like
and
that.
it was a solo show.
Right.
So did he inhabit all those characters, Katie, like in the kitchen?
I made him go outside. No, he chose to go out to the little studio and do his lines out there.
Because it was just...
He had to have complete quiet.
Well, I mean, you're both writers as well. Is that a different kind of a concentration?
It's more lonely.
Can you, for example, both be in the house writing? Can you both inhabit this space and do that kind of work together?
We have done that.
We have.
But just timing-wise, it's not intentional. I'm usually in here reading the paper, and Katie is working on her play. And I'm not as disciplined about my writing as I should be. I tend to work more in little spurts, but we don't have a very big house, as you know. So
Yeah. Were you writing, both of you writing when you met each other? Were you writers then?
You were. Well, I wrote poetry and short stories. I was an English major at the U and in the creative writing program.
Not a theater major.
But no.
Huh.
And then I went on and got a master's in theater because I don't know, I wanted to throw away a lot of money and pay back loans for years and years. So I was writing all along, but I didn't start writing scripts until, 7 or 8 years ago when Bob and I decided to write a screenplay together just for kicks.
Did that get made into a movie?
no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No one's really read it. No, a couple of people read
Well,
it.
perhaps
But
you want to just perform it.
we didn't shop it around, let's put it that way very much.
But you've been an actor, I don't even know how long, a substantial amount of time.
Yeah, I've been acting. It's coming up on 25 years.
Wow.
Is it? Yes. No. 30 years. Excuse me. Oh my God, I'm getting older as we speak.
So you haven't been writing for 30 years?
No,
as well?
I co-wrote a lot of plays back in the 70s and 80s with my friends, other actors and performers. Most of them were park shows, and
We just
crazy.
revived one of those.
Right, Ming the Rude at the Empty Space Theater was a revivification of some material we'd written way back when we were much younger.
But that's different than writing your own play,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is very different. And I've written two plays actually on my own right now, and a couple of screenplays. And
Now, I know that one play, at least, was produced in a workshop format act, right?
Uh-huh.
That was a couple years ago.
a couple of years ago, it's a play that I'm still trying to finish.
That's good.
Which is great. And actually, I'm very close to finishing it. I rewrote the first act, which completely monkeyed. The whole second act had to essentially be thrown out, which was both terrifying and a relief.
So do actors take up writing because there's not enough challenge in acting, or there's not roles, or because you look at the scripts you get and think, oh my gosh, I could do better than this?
I think if you always write, too, then eventually, if you're in theater, you say, what the heck,
Yeah.
I'm going to try a play.
Well, so ever since I've been in this house, I have to ask you about this Easter 1962 picture.
Yes.
Which one is you?
I'm the adorable one here on the end.
The red-headed
The
one.
redheaded one.
There are 5 girls and
And 4 boys, 9 kids in 18 years.
Oh, your poor mom.
I know.
But it was happy.
She seemed happy.
She wanted those kids.
Yeah, I think she did.
Well, so is having sisters what had you write a play that is sort of about sisters?
Well, that was part of it, but also part of it was writing roles for friends of mine who were getting older, just like I'm getting older, and I thought we're running out of roles.
So how many sisters are in this play?
There's just the 2 sisters.
And they're O'Connells?
O'Connors.
O'Connors.
And then there's the mother and the sister-in-law.
And they're all...
And those 2 are in their 60s. Then there's the brother who never shows up, who's upstairs sleeping.
Huh.
And a young man.
So growing up in a family like that, does that prepare you for theater because you're always surrounded by people?
I think so. I mean, it prepares you for chaos.
And so isn't theater sort of chaotic?
It is sort of chaotic, and trying to work things out with lots of people.
This is just so great because clearly we're talking about family, and here they all are. Various...
Well, these are some of them anyway, yeah. There's a lot more.
I guess I don't see the 4 brothers, so they didn't send you a
No,
card.
the brothers aren't here, and I'm going to be in trouble for that.
Okay, well, we'll tell them not to watch.
But they're great guys.
So who did you show this script to that led to it getting produced at the Rep?
They were looking for scripts for the Hot Type Festival. And so they had the script, and I called Chris Sumption and said, would you look at it for the Hot Type Festival, and Merv Antonio. And they called me back in a relatively short amount of time and said, we're definitely considering it. And then a week later they called and said, what the heck, that'll be one of the plays.
That's exciting.
So it was very exciting.
So this is the very first one for you?
Yeah, I had a staged reading done at Intiman about 4 years ago of the first play when Warner Shook was there.
Huh. Do you feel like you can wear both hats, the writer and the actor hat, or does...
I think so, yeah, I do.
I asked Bob this from time to time on the radio, whether being a writer and being an actor, you bring the writer part of you to the acting and the acting part of you to the writing?
I think so. I think you do. I think you just learn to keep your mouth shut. I mean, if you're in a new play and you feel like contributing, you just don't. I mean, you contribute what an actor would contribute and not what a writer would.
Well, so what is the writer's role in terms of a first production of a play? Do you get to sit behind the director and whisper into her ear, or do you have to just let it go?
No, well, Chris Sumption is it's great. She's, I think it's going to be a collaboration. I mean, she's definitely the director, and I want her to be the director. She's casting it, and she'll be directing it, but I think she'll listen to me if I have ideas. But it's so great because she's really good, and she gets the play, so it's not like I actually have a lot to say to her.
This play's going to be on the Leo K stage.
Yes.
And now you've performed on that stage?
I haven't, only the main stage.
Only the main stage?
I've done about 10 or 12 shows on the main stage.
So where does the writer sit on opening night?
I don't know if you sit.
You pace and
You might
worry?
stand in the back, or I don't know what you do. I can't imagine sitting in the house though, unless there was one of those little bags that they have on airplanes. I can't imagine.
You think you'll be too nervous?
I think I'll be very nervous.
Where will Bob be?
He might be in the house, I guess. He'll have to tell me how it went.
Because you'll be out pacing.
Oh yeah, I'll be somewhere in the parking lot. I don't know.
I think people totally underestimate how vitally important a sense of humor is in
Any relationship.
any relationship,
Doesn't have
especially a
anything to
close
do with
relationship.
theater people. It's just life. Clayton's the funniest man I've ever known. Say something funny.
I know you two have done all kinds of plays, but I guess I associate you both with comedy. And am I wrong to think that you've done a larger amount of comedies than straight dramas or tragedies?
No, I don't think so. I think we have. You've certainly done more comedies, don't you think?
Yeah, probably.
I think I
probably
have, too.
actually, when it comes right down to it.
So when you come home, do you drop? I mean, is that when you can be serious? Do you...
I don't know.
Bob?
I think we have, like most actors I know who are known maybe as comic actors, or I think we're actually very serious about what we do, and we're not stand-up comics.
No.
You know, so it's not like I don't make my living trying to figure out how to make people laugh. I make my living, if I'm in a comedy, working with, with the director, with the playwright, with my other friends and colleagues, trying to figure out the best way to do the play. And if it's a comedy, of course, you want it to be funny, but you go about it in much the same way.
So is home a place where you can just kind of like put on home and it's like a warm, cozy sweater and you're...
Yeah, I don't think either of us really bring it, unless there's something wrong with the play or things aren't actually going well, then you're more likely to bring it home with you because you want to be able to fix it or make it better. But if it's going well, it's just a great job to go to, and then the minute you're done and you walk out.
So what would be the first thing you do when you walk in this house at the end of the day of rehearsing?
Find Frank, probably.
I know, which is so sad that he's not here with
He's
us.
actually on the kitchen table.
Watching,
Yeah.
Watching, yes.
Right.
waiting to make his big entrance. 30 years of acting, perhaps, do you both envision 25 years from now that this is what you'll be doing? More heavy on the writing and less performing?
Boy. Now that I'm over 50, I think a bit more about what it might be like to be 70 and be still be acting. I like that idea, actually. I think it would be great not to have to work nonstop. Not that I do work nonstop, but if you're an actor in the theater, it's hard to take time off because you rarely know what's going to be happening 3-4 months in advance because the contracts are so short, and so you're always looking for work. And when people offer you work, the tendency, if it's a halfway decent project, something that you're interested in, the people are good, you tend to take the jobs. So it's difficult to, even now, to think, well, should we go on a vacation sometime? When can we take time off?
So fun would be a vacation together?
It would for me.
I would love. We've been trying to get to Paris for.
Crazy
We've never
about
been to
Bob.
Paris, and we'd love to go.
We would
but
love
we
to go,
also
yeah.
love taking time off and being at home, and gardening and hanging out.
We're huge homebodies. It's just
Yeah.
pathetic.
It is pathetic. We're like, we might as well be retired.
It's true. This is our retirement home, actually.
Yeah.
Very few steps, did you notice? So the
Yeah.
wheelchair, the ramp
Right.
can come.
There's no upstairs.
There's no upstairs.
We can ramp this house very quickly.
Very quickly.
The old actor's home.
The old
Exactly.
actors. We've actually talked about that with some of our friends.
Yeah.
You'll have to add another wing if this is going to be...
No, we would pool our meager resources.
Buy a large, dilapidated house, like Petticoat Junction sort of thing, and then have a bunch of old actors who don't have anyone to take care of them. I don't know.
And
They
do
have
our
to hire a
monologues
nurse.
for each other, try to have
Right, you
readings.
can always sell tickets at the door to support
Exactly.
yourself.
We'll just do mornings at 7 over and over again.
Frank.
Frank. That's
He's
Frank.
back there.
Are there vegetables or just flowers?
We plant vegetables in here, this creepy place. This is the kitchen garden. This is the volunteer parsley.
Oh, no, but you can use it, right?
Yeah. And then the rest of it is a hodgepodge of perennials and roses, and you see my lovely hops, which has grown up into this tree. But I have to pull that down. But
So are you making beer?
yeah.
All right, well, I'll just pretend it's all in flower.
Yeah, exactly.
That works.
It's very pretty. This
And-
is a rose that was given to me by my sisters when we moved in.
And it blooms in
Yeah,
the
it's 7 years old. It's
June.
huge.
And so this you built.
Yeah, I replaced the garage with this, which is, we call it the studio because it sounds better than the garage replacement.
Okay, so
And so it's going to be an office.
it's going to be an office.
Yeah. It looks like a schoolroom now.
So this building, I know your father was an architect. Is this the legacy of your father to you?
No, you know, he couldn't get me to do any of that stuff when I was a kid. Garden or do any kind of construction. I was such a little jerk.
Well, I wondered how he felt about your career choice.
I have a feeling that initially, when I was making no money and living what must have seemed like a kind of wasted life early on, that I'm sure they were concerned. And since then, they've been very supportive and very proud of me, and that at least I've stuck with it. And it's not exactly you can't live a high level lifestyle or whatever that might be. But yeah, I think they're both very proud of me now, which is nice.
But your dad did come and help a bit on this.
We knocked down the garage. The day we knocked it down, I took all the roof off, and then when we took the whole thing down, this is all new. And
Wonderful.
10 minutes after we started knocking it down, I opened my forehead up with a pry bar, which is the first time and only time I've ever really hurt myself on this project, and it was right when I was working with my dad.
And he said, if you had worked with me all those years
That's right.
when you were young.
He looked at me and said, "You okay?"
You and Katie seem to be pretty close to your families.
Yeah, yes. Katie's family, of course. I mean, you'll talk to her. It's a really big family, and I get this great contact, not high, but I get the proxy excitement of having a big family, and the great thing is that all 9 siblings are real close, and they don't. I'm sure that there are the typical sibling rivalries, but they like each other a lot, and it's so, Christmases and Thanksgivings are a great deal of fun.
Is that part of what keeps you glued, rooted? You were mentioning you were rooted to the city. Is that part of it, the family thing?
Yeah, I think for both of us, having parents who are getting older, and I don't know right now at this age if I want to spend a lot of time away from my mom and dad. You never know how long you're going to have with your parents, but as you get older yourself, you start thinking more and more about that, and
So
it's nice to be close by.
So in 25 years, when your acting career is done, this will probably be finished.
Yes. It's just like my Uncle John, who took 40 years to build a rowboat. I think that this may be, I'm hoping it'll be done this year.
So do you see yourself sort of sitting here writing? Or
Well,
what?
that's the idea. We're hoping that there'll be a big desk here with 2 chairs, and there'll be bookcases and a throw rug, and so that hopefully we'll be able to use this. At least one of us will be able to be in here working that.
So all these family members don't fit in either of these houses.
No, we never have holidays at our house, which is too bad, but we have them over one at a time, which is pleasant.
Serial entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for showing to me. I
Well,
wish people could smell it because it smells so
It
good
does.
in here.
It's a good smell of fir sawdust.
There we go. There we go. Okay, now, advice. Let's see, do we have any advice for anybody? No, I don't have advice.
Have a dog.
Have a dog, by all means.
Have a
Yes.
charming dog.
One of the ways to save your marriage is have a dog. It gives you
Somebody else to talk
somebody
to.
else to talk to.
One of the things I was wondering is whether not that working is fun, but if one of you had a great job that the other one kind of looked at with envy. Does it ever work that way where you think, I want to be in that play. I don't like this job, or vice versa. I'd rather not be working right now. I wish I was home putting in daffodil bulbs.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased that when one of us is working.
Our cat, Frank.
Frank, come and be with us.
There he is.
Which lap do you want? Choose.
It's all about Frank, really. Our relationship.
You both really want to be home with Frank.
We both want to be home with Frank, it's true. Or we both have told the other, if you would like to support me for the rest of my life, I would understand that, and I will wait for you at home.
We often say that if one of us could get really famous or make a lot of money, that we would write the other person's coattails.
Right.
But we don't know whose it's going to be.
Well, this is
Or even friends. We claim. Friends
Right.
of ours who go to L.A., we say, call us when you're successful.
and
Steitzer's going to New York, and we're like, we're in on that series
yes,
when you get it.
Jeff Steitzer.
Yes.
It's a loss for Seattle, but and that brings me to a last question. I mean, you're both from this area essentially, and I'm assuming that you made a choice to stay here and not go to New York or L.A. Am I right?
Right. I can't leave until all of my family is dead because they would.
Some of them are quite young. So
Some of them are very young.
forever.
So it's going to be a long time. No, I
Do you ever think, I should have gone there?
You know, I went to New York for 10 months, and then I came home for the summer in 1985.
Wow, and that was it?
Yeah, I never got back.
In the acting profession, is that choosing a place and a home and family over some kind of career track?
Yeah, it is, I think. Because we have lots of friends who go to LA and New York, and that's exactly what it's about. So doing more, doing better, making more money, which is great. I just can't seem to get myself to go.
Yeah, I think for a long time I didn't make a conscious decision. It was just that I was working, and I've been lucky enough to work here enough that I didn't have to think I have to move in order to work. But now I've become rooted to my hometown, and not that I love working elsewhere occasionally, but I have no real interest in moving lock, stock, and barrel anywhere. So.
And in fact, Frank won't get up.
Frank won't let us
Frank won't.
move.
He doesn't fly well either, so that's tough.
Well,
Can you pick up the purring?
theater's loss is Seattle's gain,
Well.
I guess.
Well,
So thanks, and stay here.
Thank you. Frank, say thank you.
Frank, talk to the nice lady.
The general
Yes,
public does
definitely.
think that our life is glamorous and so forth. They think that we're propped in the corner at night. They don't think that we're real when we do romantic diversions. A man asked one day, how do you protect your children from the artificiality of your life? And I said, well, I belong to the PTA and I'm a campfire leader, and Clayton did the 50-mile Boy Scout hike. And he said, yes, but how do you protect your children from the artificiality of your life?
Told him we had a mortgage. Yeah.